Ofentse Pitse is a woman on a mission. She holds bragging rights as the youngest conductor to lead an orchestra. Many started taking notice of her abilities when she performed at Judith Sepuma's album launch. She joins me now to discuss her achievements. Ha! What a moment. Ofentse, wow, 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 wow. What an achievement. Thank you for joining us this evening. You know, as I'm reading it, it just reads like such an unbelievable story. Where did it start for you?
Started in church, the Salvation Army, as a young girl, looking at how the band plays and looking at, you know, the marches in the band and being interested in that. And from there, I was like, you know what, this is something I would like to do. But I think the inception of it all started from when I was born. I grew up listening to old school, like your Motown, Donny Hathaway, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes,
wow.
the Spinners. So I'm an old soul.
Who was teaching you all of this music?
My mom and her friends who used to have these kitchen parties where there was food and they were talking about, you know, their marriages and all that. So I saw the power of music from that early, you know, age. It wasn't part of the plan, but now we're here.
Was there ever a time when you thought of something else and not music?
I mean, I studied architecture at Wits. So, but even in architecture, I would always use influences of music. So even with my concepts, there would have to be something to do with music, an instrument or whatever. So it's almost like it was following me wherever I went. So, but I'm an all-round artist. So even in high school, I went to an art high school and I know art from your artistic styles and genres, whatever. So the music thing, I think it was only right for the bug to hit me as well, like to really come biting at me.
And one thing I've read about you is that you say that you are a reincarnate of your grandfather.
Yes.
Did he have an influence at all of where you are currently?
He did. Unfortunately, he passed away when I was like 18 months old. But he definitely did, because when my uncles and when my and I have like this new song that I just found or whatever, she'd be like, Ofentse, you know, and I would remind her of Papa, you know, and that for her was almost like, wow, here's my dad. So hence the support of it was not difficult, because it was almost like, okay, this is in her blood. Yeah.
And conducting is a different ball game altogether. How did you manage to convince people that are rigid? Because I think conducting is always seen as a male kind of a thing to do. How did you manage to convince those that did not believe in you to say that you're the real deal?
I think at the heart of it, and it's actually a conversation I always have with my mentoring conductor and teacher, it's leadership. It's leadership. To get people to trust you, you can be the best conductor, but if you are timid there on stage, you will fail. So it was leadership and being confident and knowing that even if I am not perfect at what I do, but commanding that presence and that respect from the people was actually something that I think they saw me as a leader above anything else. Because I mean, I was selling a dream that I was like, guys, we're gonna end up at the Sydney Opera House one day, and they were like, Ofentse, what? You know, and for me it was showing them that as a leader I'm going to make it happen. Far beyond the music, it was just really being very flat-footed about what the African dream can be and the magic of it all.
And you're confident, you're talking about this, and certainly you have bought into the dream that you now are obviously pursuing. How easy was it for you to find that voice as a woman, to have the confidence to stand in front of the orchestra and to say, I'm here, and this dream, this is my vision, I'm selling it, let's buy into it?
It all starts, I think there has to be a superpower woman. For me, it was from my grandmother and my grandmother's mother. So from there, definitely there was that stern discipline at home, and I knew that it's either you're in or you're not. So there was no crying even as a girl at home. It was either you get it done or you just leave it, but you don't give up and then tomorrow cry that you don't do it. So definitely, because I come from a family of strong women, even at church growing up, it's strong women, the women I look up to even on social media, your Mihlales, your Sibuma Banners, those are the, you know, your Kamamudisa gangs, those are women that I look at and they're young and I see them making like different moves in their strides and I'm like, wow, there we go. So I think I'm a product of knowing that women are powerful, and because of that, it was limitless.
And we look at your ensemble, it doesn't only have unknowns, and it doesn't only have people that are not established. How did you convince someone who believes that they've been doing this for years to say, here's a young woman, please buy into my dream and come be part of my orchestra?
Oh, it's difficult. It is difficult. I think what I did differently, when you come up with something different, I think people take notice. So I had to, before I step up to them, I had to know my story. So I had to look at this as a brand. So I was like, here's the mission, here's the vision, here's the 5-year plan, here's the 3-year plan, here's the people I've contacted, here's the people who are like, you know what, great idea, let's give you some advice, let's twerk your proposal here and there. So because of virtue of that, they were like, okay, you're overly ambitious, let's give you a try. But it's a very difficult stride, because remember now, you are dealing with an environment that it's not casual, like it's not your corporate where there's funds flowing, and now you're telling people that, guys, buy into this idea, we may not win today, and I know this is putting bread on your table, but please believe in this. So it hasn't been easy at all, but somehow I keep fighting.
And talking about that, because it's an uncomfortable subject to look into, particularly the money that it makes, because people are looking for you, are looking to you, in fact, to help them put food on the table.
Yeah.
How easy is it for you to get sponsorship, to get the assistance, the financial assistance,
Yeah.
in order to be able to make sure that they put food on the table? Because I see what you also do is that what you guys make sustains the team.
It hasn't been easy. I've had great sponsors who I will not mention will drop you, like literally before the show or whatever is supposed to happen, they drop you. And it goes back to, okay, she's a woman, she's black, is she really going to pull it off, you know? So it's almost like I've had to prove myself 10 times harder, and because of it's been very difficult to get sponsors, investors, and I think in this country we don't look at art as European countries. There from Monday to Sunday, their whole family is supporting theatre works, because that sort of like fuels back to the country's economy. So here it's almost like we neglect that, and it's a very important element towards the, you know, the sustainment of the country. So it's something that I wish, you know, and my hope is to get more investors and sponsors and collaborators to just contribute to the rise of a black economy.
And is it not then sad, because if you have to work 3 times harder because you're a woman, you know, it's one of those things that really say the struggle is still real for us.
The struggle is still real. I mean, I was with my, like I was saying earlier, my conducting mentor. So we have our sessions, right? So that is my sacred place. I know it's been a hectic week with Ofentse, whatever, but that is the space that's very sacred. So, and we're talking about how, I mean, he has 80% of his students in conducting are females, 3 of which are black, you know? And I was like, I mean, we are is that I'm the first one to own an orchestra, and to go out of the convention to say that, okay, I'm going to do the very difficult, you know, literally sell Ice to the Winter and Find Hell, literally want an all-black orchestra and a symphony, like a full-piece orchestra at that. So it's still like a hard territory, and that's why a lot of praises that I've been getting is from women who are like, now I believe that I can come out of my shell because you're showing me that it's possible. Yeah.
And is your orchestra complete now? Is it where you want it to be, or do you still feel that you could still do better?
We could still, I think, support more than anything. If we get the right sponsorships, the right investments, you know, because for me, this is big for Africa in the arts. If I can just tell you the amount of people from international shores who have touched base with me, you know, like every 20 minutes there's a like, a follow, and people are like, you know, sis, you're doing great. And these are even conductors on a world scale who are like, you're doing something that has, you know, we have failed to do for many years. You are literally breaking the glass ceiling. And for me, I wish many people would be like, okay, let's actually invest in this, let's actually support this, because it's not a me thing, it's for the country. And for people in Sydney and Oslo to be looking at the first young black female conductor from South Africa to have her own orchestra, it's like, wow, we see the possibility in South Africa. So we all have to really get
20 years into our democracy, we're still finding ourselves having the first black this, the first woman this, the first, you know, we should still right now be talking a conversation of having more, shouldn't we?
We should, and also it shouldn't be a woman thing. And you know, like for me, I want to get to a point where it's not wow, first black female. We need to turn off the lights and have 2 orchestras. I'm conducting on the left, and then on the right is another conductor, and then it's same standard. It's, you know, it's about that. It shouldn't now be sort of like be selling now a poster of, wow, she's South African and she's black. And no, we should, even the quality of what we produce should be on that level. So it shouldn't be a woman thing. But yes, 20 years into it, we're still looking at first pilot woman and first conductor woman. So it should just be the person who's actually doing whatever they have to do. So it shouldn't be a woman or a male or a female thing. Yeah.
And for some, you know, the arts has sometimes, especially theatre, orchestra, and all of that has been seen as if it's, you know, not too close, particularly in rural areas and townships. How then do you make sure that you don't leave those areas behind?
It's, I mean, the demographics of my orchestra, it's not Johannesburg. There's guys from Pretoria, there's Katlehong, there's Vosloorus, there's the East Rand, and even my choir, there's guys who, when they're not at school, the home is Kopolokwane or the Northwest, you know, and because I didn't want to make it this is only in GP, you know, this is only an 011 thing. I wanted to combine all of those factors so that it's a us thing. And also curbing to that, because remember now, some of them don't even have the means of getting to rehearsal. So now it's like, okay, now I have to make sure that I give them money to make it to rehearsal. Some of them have to go borrow an instrument, have to now ensure that, because you don't want to leave anyone out on the basis that they cannot afford to make it or whatever. So I've had to take my own capital from my architecture job, which I think if it wasn't for this dream and this passion, I would probably maybe have like a nice penthouse or whatever. But because I believed in this so much, I literally gave up all my worldly possessions for fueling into this dream.
And what is the 5-year plan?
Wow, the 5-year plan. Things are happening now. So the 5-year plan for me, I would want for us to create content like movies, animation. Currently we're working with a group of amazing young writers, an amazing graphics team. And these are all black, and they're creating a spectacular movie of Shaka Zulu, you know, the story of Ushaka. And this is in animation, and you can imagine that the music behind that is going to be full orchestra. So Anchored Sound is going to be doing like the scoring of that. And then obviously looking at other South African musicians in even jazz and in African storytelling, and allowing for the voices to be our not so celebrated but very great actors, your Mushidi Mutsehos and stuff. Also curbing into the plight of the theatre and the acting space, sort of like not getting as much support. So shedding light onto that. And I think if we were to get to the platform where Beyonce's like, hey, let's collaborate, let's do a live show, I think now I'd know that, okay, now we have literally opened the market for the possibility of such great things.
Well, I see the Sydney Opera House very close. Very, very close. I can see you performing there with your orchestra. Thank you so much, Ofentse, for coming through this evening and sharing your such an inspirational story for all of us. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers are quite inspired by what you're doing. And good luck for the future. Thank you so much. That was Ofentse Pitse there, who is talking to us about her orchestra ensemble and all the dreams and aspirations that she has for it. And after the break, Benji is going to give us all the details of that win by the Under-23 team. Stay with Music Time.